Thank you, Mr. President, and I thank my colleagues here on the floor for allowing me to offer these amendments. I know the leadership on the other side is anxious to end debate on this bill and move on to other things, so I will keep my remarks as brief as possible. I'd be happy to work with the managers of the bill, the senators from Massachusetts and Wyoming, to work out additional time for debate if that's necessary. Mr. President, the minimum wage is a debate about fairness. Many Americans see a minimum wage as a fundamental right and something that should be increased to keep up with rising costs. Many economists see it differently. They understand that it's only an entry wage and that with on-the-job training, most people do not stay at the minimum wage for very long. Economists also understand that very few people in America actually earn the minimum wage, which is currently at $5.15 per hour. Those who do are mostly teenagers, part-time workers, second earners in a home, or workers with very limited skills. Nevertheless, this debate has become a measure of how much we care for workers, and that's what this debate should be about. If we're going to be serious about helping Americans earn higher wages and helping them keep more of what they earn, we must consider additional measures to ensure American prosperity. And that is why I'm offering these amendments today. They will not only ensure fairness for workers, they will also help protect small businesses that employ them. Americans realize that if we pass laws here in Washington that are aimed at helping workers but end up eliminating their jobs, that we've done more harm than good. Mr. President, my first amendment, number 158, would raise the effective minimum wage in each state by $2.10 per hour. Now, I know most people listening believe that that's what this amendment does, but far from it. Without this amendment, the underlying legislation will partially exempt minimum wage workers in high-cost states that already have state minimum wage rates greater than $5.15 per hour, and it will completely exempt minimum wage workers in the highest-cost states that have state minimum wage rates greater than $7.25. You see, Mr. President, many states, actually 29 states, have already recognized that their cost of living is much higher than other states. And these states have passed their own minimum wage increases. And so the cost of living all around the country is quite different. If you look at some high-cost states, like Boston, Massachusetts, for instance, 35%, a higher cost of living than the national average. And you contrast with that with Alabama, Mobile, Alabama, it's minus 11% of the national average. You've got a large swing of the cost of living. And effectively what we have is while Massachusetts now has a minimum wage of $7.50 an hour, that does not do a worker as much good in Massachusetts as $5.15 does for a worker in Alabama. The cost of living is significantly different. And as you look around the country, we see the highest cost states here in Massachusetts and Connecticut and Vermont, New York. You can go over to Illinois, or 17%. You get down in the southern states and you see minus 10% of the national average in Texas, or minus 11 in Arkansas, or minus 12 in Oklahoma. The states and the cost of living across our country is very, very different. And I think, thankfully, a number of states, 29 of them, have recognized that and raised their minimum wage. But if we're going to make a promise to American workers that we're going to raise their salary, particularly minimum wage workers, then I think we should do it for all workers. I think we should look at how this underlying bill is really going to affect workers. The blue states here are states that get a small increase, or less than 10 cents from this $2.10 we're talking about. A few minutes ago, the senator from Washington State was given a passionate plea that minimum wage workers get an increase. But Washington State minimum wage workers will get no increase from this bill. The same for Oregon and California. Our dear colleague from Massachusetts, Senator Kennedy, is one of the most passionate advocates of increasing the minimum wage. Yet this bill that we're going to pass today will not give one minimum wage worker in Massachusetts an increase. They get nothing. All of the blue states, the high-cost states, where an increase is the most important, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, these get no increase. Illinois gets less than 10 cents from the $2.10 increase. And so the blue states, where workers really could use an additional increase, particularly minimum wage workers, get little or nothing. And if you look at the white states, these are the states that don't get the whole $2.10. If the red states are the only states that the whole $2.10 increase will actually go to minimum wage workers. So, in effect, we are making a lot of false promises here today. A lot of the debate, the most passionate debate, are coming from senators who represent states who will get little or nothing from this minimum wage increase. I think we should do what the states do and recognize the cost of living is different. My amendment is very simple. Let's make all of the states the same color. Make them red or blue. But every minimum wage worker in this country should get a $2.10 increase. And that's what my amendment would do. It would be fair to all workers.